One of the things I've said about this job is that it's not really just about doing the timing chain. I'm actually also trying to find the cause for the idling issue that I've got with the car. So I mean, it may be that just replacing the chain sorts the problem, but it might not as well. So I am trying to look and find things that are wrong with the car as I go. Now these doesn't look like there's anything wrong with these, but one of the things I'd quite like to do as part of this job is to replace these little seals on the end of the camshafts while I'm in here. I mean, I may as well, I've gone to the extent of removing this timing housing, so I may as well replace these. There's 6 like little seals on the end of the camshafts. They're actually metal, not rubber seals. But while I'm in here, I'm going to do them anyway for like what the cost. You know, they're not massively expensive. I think the trick with these is just not to stretch them too much as you put them on. Just carefully work them over the little ridges. Come on. I'm going to give these a coating of oil. Right, time to get this housing reinstalled again now. So I'll just try to make sure that we've not got any oil or anything on the back of it, or as little as possible. Thin film of it on there. I don't want anything stopping it from going nice and smoothly up against the block. I can't see anything there that'll stop it. Work that back on there. Go. Okay. I'm gonna just put these bolts back in. They do look like they've got a bit of thread locker on them anyway, but I'm gonna put a bit of my own thread locker on as well. I'll get these nipped up now. So these should be 8 Newton meters, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tighten them all to 5, and then I'll go around and nip them up to 8. And this is what I'd wish I'd done as well on the other ones when I remembered, but I am going to do it here on these now. So I'm just going to put a little paint mark on them, and then I know that I've torqued them up. Definitely know I've torqued that up, torqued that one up. I'm just going to show you this as well. So this is our old intermediate larger cog on the right, and then the new one on the left. You can see there's a little bit of wear around here. It's not actually too bad. It's not too bad, but you can see on that side, if you look on this side, you can see how it's kind of, the links have kind of eaten into it. So I thought it was worth replacing anyway for the sake of 60 quid. So we have to get this chain up behind here first before we get this cog on. Right, so again, you can learn from my mistakes. I think really this would be easier to do with the chain tensioner off and then put that on afterwards, but it is what it is, we've done it now. So I don't know if you can see, but the mark on the cog is not lining up at 6 p.m. It kind of wants to go one tooth to the left, so this tooth on the cog here, and this tooth wants to be line up with this part here, and I think that'll give us our turn. That should be right then at that. So yeah, we want to take this off and get this cog back out. I'm just going to turn it one click, so that wants to go in there. Go. Have a look at that, and yeah, we're perfectly lined up now. That's spot on. Check the timing mark there. That's perfect. Right, so our bottom chain is on and we're perfectly lined up on this cog vertically down, which is how it was when I removed it. So next thing I'm going to do is just pop this smaller cog in, and this only goes one way anyway. Just fits into it like that. Giving this a decent Loctite in, and we'll get that back in. Keep that a sec. Right, that'll do. The next step, I guess, is for us to take this tensioner out of here and just make sure it applies a little bit of tension onto this, onto the chain at this side. So we'll pull that out and then we can start to put the top chain on. Okay, so time to get this top chain something like. I'm just going to try and slide the thing into position. So again, what we need to do, and I'm just going to mark it up, usually with this indentation in the cog, but seeing as we don't have the indentation in the cog, right, usually there's like this little indentation in the cog, and what it says is that this needs to line up with the middle of these three copper coloured links here. And what I'm going to do is, because we put this on upside down, or rather the way it came off, I've just put a mark directly opposite this. This should turn. This is going to line up every 4 turns, so the next time round 2 more turns and this should line up with that mark, and then 2 more and it should be back to here. So we'll use that as our reference point, and I've just marked it with the yellow paint marker again. So I'm going to check that what we're doing here is correct, but as far as I understand, we turn this innard fully over to the right like this, and then we're going to line this up with there's some little indentations here. So, right, so quick update. I've made sure this cam adjuster is clocked fully backwards, or fully anti-clockwise. I'm making sure that the cam itself, because there is a little bit of adjustment in that, is fully retarded towards the back of the engine, which it is. And this will only go on one way. You can't put this on wrong. So I've popped that on now at that, and I've popped this bolt in loosely, and I marked this up with yellow paint before I did anything, and it's all lining up sort of as it was at this point. So I'm now going to try and get this chain wrapped around this cam adjuster. Right, so there's a little bit of a drop in quality here because I've had to resort to using my iPad just quickly because the phone battery's gone dead. So what you're sort of aiming for here, as far as I can tell, is this little arrow on top of the cam adjuster. You can see that's pointing directly to the copper link there, one of the copper links on the chain. We've got our intermediate cog, as I said, down there, with the indentation lining up with the middle of the copper links, or it would be. I did the mark obviously opposite it, but you know, we know that that link's in the correct location. And then, okay, what you're actually trying to achieve with the chain here is that you can see how tight this is. So I've still got this fully clocked over anti-clockwise, but I cannot move that chain at all. It's really tight, it's holding this back in position. So I'm going to move on to getting the exhaust cam in place, and then we can get this nipped up. Okay, so a quick update again. So got this exhaust cam adjuster in, so same thing. It doesn't have a lot of adjustment in. There's a tiny bit of adjustment, but basically you want to fully clock this anti-clockwise, and then this should go on relatively easy. As long as you've got your chain tight down here, then this should go in really easily, slot into place, and then you can see then you can see that you've got your little arrow here, and that's pointing to your other copper link there. So you can start at these this first mark here and count your rollers, and it should be 16 rollers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and you don't include this one where the arrow is here. So this looks correct. You can see there's a little bit of slack in the chain there, but you know, it's not a lot. I can't move it more than that in the middle. Just want to make a point of this again. Look, I can't move this chain. It's really tight, so that's how it should be. Okay, this is going to be the last part of this video. So as you can see, I've got the pulley wheel lined up to top dead centre, and I've actually turned the engine over with someone just holding the tensioner for me, just to make sure that the chain doesn't slip any, and I'm pretty happy with how everything's lining up, so I'm going to show you now. As you can see, first check, looking here, the main bearing, little mark there, little ground tooth, I've marked it with yellow paint. You can see that that's lining up correctly. Next bit, move over to the intermediate gear. Like I said, this does change position every sort of few turns round, so at the moment you can see it's lining up at 6 PM, which is how everything came off the engine. If I were to turn the engine over 2 more times, then that would line up vertically upwards. But yeah, I'm happy. Obviously that intermediate gear seems to be timed correctly. So onto the intake, the little grounding arrow there on the left hand intake camshaft seems to be lining up with the little groove there on the valve time housing that I've marked in yellow. So it's maybe a hair out, but I mean, it's not exactly a tooth out or anything like that, so I don't think there's a great deal I can do about that. You can turn the cam, put a spanner on here and ever so slightly turn it. All that's going to do is kind of clock this one over a bit, so I don't know if it's going to make a massive amount of difference. And then if we look here again, it's not actually the arrow you're looking at, it's this groove in the intake cam housing. Again, needs to line up with the one that I've marked there, so the yellow groove there on the valve timing housing, and yeah, that seems to be pretty much lining up as well. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how everything is at this stage. I think we're going to start to button everything back up again.